It's been almost 3 years since the Lane train rolled into the Magnolia State with hopes of turning around the Ole Miss football program. And while Kiffin has led the Rebels to some big wins since, the biggest one, the one he really wants, has proved elusive. His first season in charge saw Alabama win a shootout in Oxford, though the Rebels gave the Tide one of their toughest games in yet another national title campaign. And last year, with his quarterback returning to run his offense, many thought Kiffin could become the first Saban understudy to finally beat his old boss. And so did he.
Here we go, get your popcorn ready.
But the Tide dominated, and Saban again kept his record perfect at the time against his former assistants. Now, a new year, and Ole Miss enters with a chance to wash away last year's embarrassment.
You're going to go play the best offensive player in the country and the best defensive player in the country, and the best coach to ever do it.
Speaking of the postseason, Alabama, a playoff regular since its inception in 2014, needs a lot to break their way to make it this time around after suffering heartbreaking losses to Tennessee and LSU. But for that to even be a remote possibility, the Tide must come out of Oxford victorious.
We're going to play a good team this week, and I'm sure they're going to want to put up on their mantle. We beat Alabama too. It's just a matter of whether we're going to allow that to happen or we're going to go do everything we can to avoid it.
And let's not kid ourselves either. Improving to 4-0 all-time against Lane Kiffin isn't necessarily not on Saban's mind. This one's got a little bit of everything. Program-changing opportunity, personal pride, and playoff implications. Vaught Hemingway will be rocking. The only thing left to do, get your popcorn ready on CBS.
It's Alabama Ole Miss. Saban v. Kiffin. Like a lot of Saban disciples, Kiffin is 0-3 all-time against his former head coach, but this one is at Vaught Hemingway Stadium, a place that Kiffin said earlier this season had the atmosphere similar to a high school game. But to a Crimson Tide team who has struggled on the road as of late, it's not Bryant-Denny, so it won't be easy. What's always easy, though, is talking to our friends Travis Reier of BamaOnline and David Johnson of Inside the Rebels. Guys, I set the scene, but I'll add this. The Tide have 2 losses before the Iron Bowl for the first time since 2010. Travis, what is the psyche of this team right now?
Yeah, Emily, back-to-back road losses for the first time since Nick Saban's first season with Alabama back in 2007. So it's uncharted territory. I think we can safely assume that, especially over the last 15 seasons or so. It's a team that better show up on Saturday plugged in and ready to go, because we know this is a Lane Kiffin offense that's going to work at pace and going to be rested coming off the bye week. So could be a situation if Alabama isn't in that state of mind where it could find itself in an early hole, similar to what it found itself in a couple of years ago when it visited Oxford. Now, that Alabama team we knew was wired in a little bit of a different way than this one. So many more questions for Alabama to answer in its latest trip to the Grove than the last time around.
Now, as for Ole Miss, the record, pretty solid, but their head coach, the man who coined the term goat fuel, is reportedly Auburn's top target for its head coaching job. How has Kiffin and the team as a whole kind of handled that noise right now, David?
Yeah, I think as best as you could hope they could. Lane Kiffin likes to employ a pro mindset into his program, and he'll tell you he hasn't even discussed these Auburn rumors with any of his players, and he has no plans to. They take every game week by week. Their goal is to go 1-0, and I think that's where this team's mindset is. Now, do the players know about it? Are they aware of it? Of course they are. There's no doubt about it, and I'm sure they're discussing it amongst themselves. But according to Kiffin, no talk between he or the Rebels about any of these job rumors.
Yeah, a lot of complicated things going on both campuses. So let's keep it simple here. If each team is going to win the game, how do they do it? Travis, kick us off.
Well, from the Alabama perspective, when you look at this offense right now, it's probably going to have to heavily involve Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs. Those are the two pieces that it seems like Alabama can rely on week in and week out. Jahmyr coming off his latest performance of 150-plus scrimmage yards in that loss to LSU. Bryce wasn't especially sharp in that same game, but with an opportunity to put the offense largely on his shoulders, he did it once again in the second half, handing the Alabama defense a lead on 4 different occasions after the break. And of course, the defense couldn't get the job done from there. So it starts once again with Bryce Young, and then you move into Jahmyr Gibbs, and kind of a mystery at wide receiver. Maybe Ja'Cory Brooks continues his strong play there, but the building block is obviously number 9.
There's no way Ole Miss is going to be able to throttle Bryce Young, if you will, like LSU did, putting the pressure on him up the middle, from the edge, closing down his lanes. Ole Miss is simply going to have to outscore Alabama. If the Rebels are going to win this, they're going to turn it into a shootout. That's the bottom line. Alabama's going to score. They're going to get their points. Ole Miss has to get more. That's as simple as I can put it.
That is very simple. I love that. All right, another element of this game that could prove to be the deciding factor is the matchup of the Ole Miss run game versus Alabama's run defense. David, starting with you, how crucial is the Rebels' ability to establish the run against Alabama?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, Jackson Dart has kind of been a growing experience throughout the entire season this year. I don't know if he's at the level where Lane Kiffin wants to get it. And you don't want to put him in situations where they have to throw the ball in order to beat you. With that said, he's got a pretty good tandem in the backfield in Quinshon Judkins, who's already cracked over 1,000 yards this season, as well as Zach Evans. And we all know what kind of talent Zach Evans is. So, you know, Ole Miss is going to have to just tee it up front, line it up, run it at the tide, and let Jackson Dart be comfortable when he throws the football. That's the key right there to Ole Miss being able to stay in this thing, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. Alabama defensively knows what's coming, and there really isn't an excuse for this defense this week, because a lot of the same pieces that were a part of a defense a year ago that held Ole Miss to 78 rushing yards in Tuscaloosa are back. You head into this game, though, wondering if Alabama can repeat that performance, because in its 2 losses to Tennessee and LSU, it has given up in excess of 180 rushing yards, gave up excess of 180 to Arkansas, and managed to survive that game largely in part to big play production on the offensive side there in the fourth quarter. But the front 7 for Alabama has to be better than it certainly was a week ago, because it wasn't just Jaden Daniels that gave Alabama problems. It was guys like Josh Williams, a little bit of Amari Goodwin, and then some of John Emery as well. So got to be better in every aspect of run defense. And then, as David said, make Jackson Dart beat you throwing the football. But even from that perspective, Alabama not great at taking away the football, with just 6 turnovers from opposing offenses this season.
Looking forward to this monster matchup. Keep it locked in to BamaOnline and Inside the Rebels for all things Alabama and Ole Miss all season long.